Merhaba, her şey sizinle de umarım. Ve bu davet için çok teşekkür ederim. But I'm sorry, I have to give this talk in English. I will go a bit slowly, I hope, and I hope you can follow what I'm saying. So, Osman Demircan, I first met him in Zdeněk Kopal's old department on the 8th floor of the Schuster building in Manchester University. This university is not far from my home in one of the northern suburbs of this well-known city of northern England. At that time, Professor Kopal presided over a fairly international clientele, and the department was sometimes referred to as a mini United Nations, with about a dozen different nationalities represented among the score of staff and students who made up the personnel. Osman was soon able to join in the exchanges of different points of view in this group within an atmosphere of cheerful and diplomatic language, as was usual in those days in that department. I recall that Osman first approached me in connection with the reduction of photometric data from observations of binary stars. We were carrying out a program at the time at Kotami Observatory in Egypt. Osman had a program to work out reduction procedures on stellar photometric data, which was distinctly more advanced than the methods we were using at the time. So Osman's program allowed us to complete projects more quickly and was quickly accepted by this research group. After his doctoral graduation, I think in '81, I didn't hear so much from Osman for a few years. I had heard that he spent some time in Libya before returning to Ankara in the late '80s, I think. After that, there were a string of papers from Osman and his students on various types of close binary system. Osman was one of the small team of people who contributed to the noticeable and useful bibliography and program notes on close binary systems publication, which was widely circulated. It was perhaps through that he became aware of a short article I completed on the close binary, I reported it on the close binary system Dani, which Osman had also been observing. The near equatorial location of the star meant that it could be observed from both hemispheres, giving opportunities or suggesting opportunities for collaborative work. And indeed such collaboration was started a few years later, involving Jammu in the north, the Mount John Observatory in New Zealand. Jammu, I mean Chanakali Onseki Smart University, of course. In 1999, I was able to divert my return flight from Manchester to Wellington to allow a stop-off at Jammu. After being placed on the Troya bus from Istanbul by Tansel Ak, I was met at the Dardanelles ferry terminal in Chanakali by Osman. At that time, he had been recently appointed as vice-rector of the new university in Chanakali. It was an exciting time for everyone concerned. Osman had secured funds to set up an observatory and was busy with that project. The setup was at Ulupanar, a short drive from Chanakali town on an overlooking hilltop. After another visit to Jammu in 2002, shortly after the opening of this new observatory, and under the aegis of a UNESCO-supported proposal, I was funded to stay on at Jammu, and an international conference was held there early in 2003, which allowed Osman and myself to complete our first joint book in the form of the proceedings of the conference on new directions in close-binary research. I've got a copy of it here. Some of you will remember that very nice meeting. This well-funded collaboration was able to continue through the first decade of the 21st century, when I was kindly supported by a research fellowship and assisted in the physics department with some teaching and postgraduate supervision. In 2006, this gave rise to the program of observations of neglected close binary stars in the southern hemisphere that gave rise to more than 30 papers and published in refereed journals. And in fact, that series is still going on. We're still working on some of those targets that we observed back in the early years of the century. During this time, Osman, myself and others wanted to promote the rich culture and heritage of this region of Western Anatolia. It came to light that the great philosopher Aristotle had landed his first teaching position, probably at a location near Ayvachik in Mysia. With the support of Osman and like-minded academics, this resulted in a series of summer conferences in logic, mathematics and philosophy, held in the stimulating environment of the Aegean coast. A similarly wide net was cast excuse me, at the end of the decade, with the World Universities Congress held at Jammu to explore the question of what should universities really be doing? That is, what are the real purposes of modern higher education? It's a big subject, and there was a wide variety of views expressed. Osman and our group were naturally responsive, although in fact I think relatively few all-embracing conclusions could be drawn from these interesting discussions. In 2007, Osman and I completed our first book on astronomical photometry, a book revision actually of the earlier work in the 80s. The book was published by Cambridge University Press, and it was aimed at being an up-to-date manual for observational photometry with applications to a wide variety of cosmic sources. There were plenty of diagrams, and procedures were spelled out in simple terms, with real numerical examples provided. A student recently informed me that this book is still available and changing hands from internet sources at respectable prices. For a few months in the early teen years of the 21st century, I was again supported to help with the interesting new subject of exoplanet light curves. There are now several thousand exoplanets known, a large proportion of them discovered through photometric surveys such as Kepler and TESS. But this population of exoplanets appears to have some quite different properties to those familiar from the solar system planets. This field is still in its infancy. Its main aim looks to be in the direction of getting larger, more advanced observing equipment. The once promising role of small-scale photometric monitoring has diminished in relative interest as the hunt for the signs of extraterrestrial life forms continues to be the main driving force. Osman also supported this discussion and in an article to the Journal of Outreach and Exobiology, we tried to characterize in the simplest and broadest terms what we're actually looking for with extraterrestrial life forms. It was towards the latter end of this book production that I learned of Osman's deteriorating health. As usual, he faced the difficulties with his alacrity and stoicism, carrying on with projects as best he could. But I was deeply saddened by the news of his passing later in 2022. Osman was a true friend, colleague and professor in the best sense of those words. Clear and logical in thought, calm and purposeful in conduct. With his passing, astronomy has lost a steadfast and productive champion. I count myself very fortunate to have known such a man, and I offer my sincerest condolences to his family, friends and associates. Thank you.